Nation's number one DJ, DJ Rockwell.
Yo, this is Apocalypse, the lyrical warner, hip-hop revelator. And you rockin' with the nation's number one DJ, DJ Rockwell, you understand me?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here once again. What's good? This is your brother, DJ Rockwell, the nation's number one DJ. Glad to be with you for another episode of the Rockwell Radio Show. Man, tonight I'm excited. I'm excited because of not just who we have, but what we are going to be discussing tonight on the program. Before I get started, as I always do about this time, we need everybody to go ahead and follow the 3 steps of the Rockwell Radio Show. That means hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and last but not least, tag somebody who you feel might need to hear tonight's conversation. Now, I have a lot to say in the opening segment, in the introduction segment, but I want to go quickly because it's a lot to cover, but I want to be thorough because the subject deserves detailed attention. If you're new to the Rockwell Radio Show, welcome. We're a little late this evening, but I'm hoping that you all are still rocking with us. If not, it's all good. You'll catch the replay, as I hope that you always do. If you're new here, the Rockwell Radio Show has been on the air for now 5 years, and we are dedicated to the rise of Black people. We are dedicated to teaching, training, and aiding our people wherever they can be found. And we use the number one weapon, which is truth, as taught by the Honorable Ms. Farrakhan. And we also use that serious weapon called hip hop to merge those two things together to do it. And now I get a chance to talk to great guests to help achieve the aforementioned things that we aim to do. And tonight's subject is when Black history becomes a threat to white comfort. That's a heavy topic. And the thing that concerns me the most about this topic is I'm not quite sure that most people are aware of the fact that Black history is under attack. Yeah. So Vaughn, I know it's November. Why are you talking about Black history in November? Black history should be 365. Wouldn't you agree? But what about when it is under attack? What about when it is being prevented from being taught to our very children in a public setting? And they say now it's making little Johnny feel a little bit uneasy. Oh, really, little Johnny? Does the truth make you feel a little uneasy? Well, I tell you what, let me first show you or tell you how we even got here. How did this conversation even come about? I was scrolling along on Facebook just a few days ago, and I saw on our guest Facebook page a story he shared by another brother. He shared a story told by a brother named Dr. Khalid El Hakim, who is the founder of Black History 101 Mobile Museum. Round of applause for that brother. And he's traveled all over the country teaching Black history facts to our people. And he was scheduled to go to Texas until he was denied entry via email. Denied. And well, he asked, well, why did you deny me? Why did you change your mind? And the brother had this to say. Brother on October the 29th wrote, I was invited and then uninvited. The attack against Black history, museums, and scholarship is real. We are living in a society that is choosing to erase history, lie about the past, and silence those of us who dare to preserve it. This email that he received from Texas State University cites Senate Bill 17 and the quote, the current climate of our state unquote, as reasons for denying the Black History 101 Mobile Museum from being on campus next year during the 100th anniversary of Dr. Carter G. Woodson's legacy, the very man who founded Negro History Week, which became, of course, Black History Month. Let that sink in, he said. He closed his post by saying, an institution of higher education, a place meant to cultivate critical thinking and dialogue, is refusing to allow a traveling museum that has visited over 1,000 institutions nationwide simply because the truth makes some folk feel uncomfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we got here to this conversation. So let's quickly move into what's happened since then, or what's been happening, as we should say, because the question that we want to pose today as we address the subject is that an isolated incident? Absolutely not. Let me move quickly to make my point. Let me share with you some other recent occurrences that has been happening in the media that are exactly that, an attack on Black history and not getting this information to our children. Watch this. Let's start with this. You'll see here that recently Trump wanted to interfere with, and let me read this exactly correct. He attempted to review exhibits featured in the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History to promote a more uplifting view of American history. And of course, that was met by much resistance across the country. For you to try to reduce or revise Black history to make history more uplifting. And there's more. Just in 2023, Governor Ron DeSantis and his Department of Education decided they wanted to re-standardize or teach, as you can see on the headline right here, to teach students that some Black people benefited from slavery because it taught useful skills. How about that? Useful skills. And at that time, NBC ran a news story, and Kamala Harris, then vice president, had this to say. Listen to Kamala Harris.
Tonight, the battle over Florida's new history curriculum.
They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us.
It's very thorough, very factual. Nobody's buying their nonsense anymore.
Going national. A White House official tells NBC News that Vice President Kamala Harris decided to go to Florida specifically to challenge its new standards for Black history education passed just days ago.
They dare to push propaganda to our children.
Critics are blasting the changes, pointing to lessons that teach middle school students, quote, how slaves developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
This is unnecessary to debate whether enslaved people benefited from slavery. Are you kidding me?
That was a real conversation in Florida, ladies and gentlemen. KRS-One, in my last news brief before we introduce our guest, told us in 1989 that you must learn. And if you've never seen the video intro, it applies to right now. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for this, but the 30-second intro was like this.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a Black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. Genesis 14, verse 13. Abraham
Ladies and gentlemen, the fight is real. Let me begin introducing tonight's guest. Now, he is a first-time guest to the Rockwell radio show. And because of that fact, I want to give him his proper respect by reading in detail this brother's resume, because I want you to be just as acquainted with this beautiful brother as I am. I want to share with you some of the background of our brother, Dr. Nana Chike Akua, who is an associate professor of higher education leadership at Clark Atlanta University and one of the most sought after speakers at urban schools, colleges, universities, and educational conferences. As a former underperforming student who struggled in high school, Dr. Akua understands the process of personal and cultural transformation to inspire today's students. Dr. Akua is the author of 12 books in total, producer of a series of historical videos online, and 70 Black history and African proverb posters, along with Reading Revolution, which we'll hear more about tonight, a culturally relevant web-based academic support tool that increases comprehension, vocabulary, development, grammar, and writing skills. Y'all better tag somebody because this is a bad brother. Dr. Akua's most recent books include Honoring Our Ancestral Obligations, 7 Steps to Black Student Success, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, Brother Doc, Kepra, Ancient Comedic Concepts in Education and Transformation. Dr. Akua earned a doctorate in educational policy studies at Georgia State University, a Master of Arts degree in education with a concentration in school counseling from Clark Atlanta University, and holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in English education from Hampton University. And I read in closing, Dr. Akua has been featured in Ebony magazine and more recently in Black Enterprise magazine and the Washington Post for his work as an innovative educational leader. He has helped lead over 1,000 students and parents on trips throughout Egypt, Ghana, Senegal, and Morocco through the African Genesis Institute. And lastly, in 2022, Dr. Akua was installed as a chief, Ghana, and given the name Nana Abaka, meaning leader with heart, spirit, and soul. It is with deep gratitude and humility that I introduce this beautiful brother for the first time to the Rockwell Radio Show, Dr. Chike Akua.
Thank you so much, brother. It is a blessing to be here with you today.
Brother, thank you so much for being a guest today on the Rockwell Radio Show. I know that was a lengthy intro, but I wanted to give it the due diligence and the respect that your work has earned you.
Much appreciated, much appreciated.
Dear brother, I want to jump right in. Now, let's begin this way, Dr. Chike Akua. In my introduction, I attempted to give the audience a description of who Dr. Chike is by that resume that I just read. But if we were in an elevator, Brother Chike, and you had to make your elevator pitch and saying who you are, how would you say it?
Husband, father, teacher, preacher, author.
Quit.
And believer. It's pretty much that simple. My duty and my purpose is to serve as a teacher. That's what I believe I was put here on this planet to do. That's what I know I was put on this planet to do. And so my teaching is done in a number of ways. It's done in the classroom. It's done through books. It's done through Black history and African proverb posters, online curricula, and through doing interviews like this. So any opportunity that I have to speak to our people is always cherished and sacred to me.
Brother, again, we're glad to have you here. So everyone who was watching right now, again, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and tag somebody because we're about to get into it with Dr. Chike Akua. Dr. Chike, for the first question I want to ask you, dear brother, is you have spent your career, your entire career, restoring African excellence to the center of the curriculum, which you teach. Why does that mission, dear brother, seem to scare so many policymakers right now, you figure?
Well, if we know history, then we know it's not just that it's scaring them now. It scared them from the very inception of us being brought here. When we were brought here as captives, it scared them. When they came to the Americas and found the black man and black woman, it scared them then. But one of the reasons it scares them so much is because, as Frederick Douglass said, knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave.
Come on.
And so when you provide knowledge to people, that helps them to understand who they are, whose they are, where they come from, and where they can go. It lets them know the possibilities for their life. Well, if you're trying to colonize, to conquer, and to enslave a population, if you're trying to manipulate and miseducate a population, then you don't want them to have knowledge. And let's be clear about what knowledge is. Knowledge is not just information.
Come on.
Knowledge is information that's been tested and found to be true.
Come on.
It's very important that we understand the difference between knowledge and information. And so when you say, I wrote it down when you were in your introduction, you said that the minister said that our number one weapon is truth. And that is so true. So this notion of keeping knowledge and knowledge itself from Black people has been a critical part of our manipulation as a people over the years. And I want to give you a quick example.
Sure.
I first came across this quote from Tony Browder's work, who's one of our great African-centered historians. And he cited a delegate from the Virginia House of Delegates back in 1831. His name was Henry Berry. And I want you to listen carefully to this quote. This is 1831. And he says, "We have as far as possible closed every avenue by which light may enter the African's mind. We have only to go one step further to extinguish the capacity to see the light, and our work would then be completed." They would then be reduced to the level of the beasts of the field, and we should be safe. That right there should let you know just how critical it is that this is a calculated and intentional process and program to make sure that we don't have knowledge of self. And so they take it to the policy level to institutionalize making sure that our children don't know the truth in public schools, in colleges, and in universities. But the great thing is, Dr. Carter G. Woodson taught us that there are two types of education: the kind you are given and the kind you must give yourself. And I want to talk about the kind that we give ourselves. Because as I once heard the minister say, that the messenger said that if a man won't treat you right, what makes you think he'll teach you right? So why would we even expect that they would teach us the truth? Yes, we should advocate in the public sphere because our tax dollars go towards public education. So I'm not suggesting that we don't fight these policies, but I am saying there must be a very intentional effort on our part as a people to make sure that we're not waiting for other people to sanction the teaching of our history, that we're not waiting for other people to teach us the truth about our history, that we teach it to ourselves and to our children and make it so attractive to them that they cannot forget it.
Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. We can go home now because he covered everything in that first answer. Brothers and sisters, you're tuning to the Rockwell Radio Show, and my guest tonight is Dr. Chike Akua, author, speaker, world traveler, and educator. Dear brother, from your perspective as an educator, and you may have answered this already in your previous statement, what's really being threatened when true Black history gets taught to the people?
Well, again, once you know who you are, it's difficult to manipulate you. You see, people benefit economically from our ignorance. People make multi-billions of dollars off of our ignorance about our diet and our health, our ignorance about how to handle money and how to deal with interest rates and loans and all those sorts of things. They make billions of dollars off of our ignorance about how to conduct business properly. They make billions of dollars off of our ignorance of the criminal justice system. So all of these different things, people are literally banking on our ignorance. Now here you want to come and disrupt that by providing knowledge of self. Now you want to come and disrupt that by telling people the true nature of the enemy that we're dealing with.
Listen,
No, that's why they have to put out policies and practices and procedures to ensure that you remain ignorant of who you are, whose you are, where you come from, and what's possible for your life.
On that note, and I'm glad you ended it with that part. Some might say that people like you, educators like you, Dr. Chike, teach divisive concepts. In your view, what's truly divisive? The history itself or the discomfort of the people who never had to even learn it?
Well, let me say this. I've often said that what makes white people uncomfortable makes Black people vulnerable.
Wow.
Say it again. What makes white people uncomfortable makes Black people vulnerable. So it's uncomfortable when you begin to talk about white terrorism and how Black people have been brutalized by the police, how we've been victimized by redlining and housing. When you talk about things that are happening to our children in these schools, those sorts of things are uncomfortable to many, not all, but to many whites. But to not talk about that makes our children vulnerable.
Listen,
I can't afford not to tell my children and my nieces and so forth about who we are and what happened to us, because for them not to know that makes them vulnerable to it happening to them again.
Teach.
So again, what makes them uncomfortable makes us vulnerable. And so that white fragility becomes a problem for us when we're in spaces where they are unwilling to hear these truths. But that doesn't stop our show. That's not stopping the Rockwell radio show. You know, we're going to speak our own special truth to the world, as Dr. Karinga teaches from the ancient teachings. Speak our own special truth to the world. One of the ancient sages, a sesh or a scribe by the name of Ani, said, "I have come here to speak the truth and to set the scales of justice in their proper place among those who have no voice."
Come on.
That was written almost 4,000 years ago. I've come here to speak the truth and to set the scales of justice in their proper place among those that have no voice. Well, that's just as true today as it was when it was written thousands of years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, our guest tonight is our brother, your brother, Dr. Chike Akua, and we are discussing how Black history is quickly becoming a threat to white comfort and why. And this next question is going to dive further into the meat of the subject with that one. Brother Chike, what is the danger to both whites and Black people of having a generation grow up only being taught a government-approved version of Black history?
That's very, very dangerous, because again, what will be taught is only what they find to be acceptable to us. And what they find to be acceptable is not enough to free us from our current condition. So it's unacceptable. It would be very foolish of us to only rely on what they teach us. What a true education would do would be to take what is being taught and analyze it from many different angles so that you can examine different perspectives and look at it from what African or African-American people would say on this subject.
Yes, sir.
Look at it from what Native Americans would say on this subject. Then let's look at what our Hispanic brothers and sisters would say on this subject, and Asians. That's actually a true multicultural education that gives voice to everybody's views, values, and perspectives. But when a government curriculum is institutionalized, it becomes problematic because oftentimes we are not the ones who are guiding what is going to be taught or how it's going to be taught. And so I can't emphasize enough that we can't leave that in the hands of the schools or school systems. That is something that we must do first at home. And that way, when if a child does go to those schools, they now have something to compare and contrast. Because when they learn something in school that's not true, they say, well, that's not what mama said, or that's not what daddy said.
Right.
And so it's okay to learn some of that so that you can know what other folk are thinking. But it doesn't help to know what other folk are thinking when you don't know what your people think on this subject. People have researched, what your people have proven scientifically. Because the things that we have proven scientifically require an entire rewrite of all of the books that are used in many of these schools. And I'll give you a quick example, brother. You know, my background is as a former public school teacher. And people saw that I was young and energetic. And in my second year, they were having a textbook adoption committee. So they said, well, we think you would be good to be on that textbook adoption committee. I'm like, yeah, okay. We're going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to get on this textbook adoption committee. We're going to adopt the right textbooks. So I get to the meeting. I'm the only brother in there. And we're sitting around and they start passing out the textbooks and they give us a list of criteria that these textbooks have to meet. So they're literally passing the textbooks around for us to flip through and analyze them. And I get the first book. I'm like, no, this one ain't going to do. We'll pass that one on. They send me the next one. I get that one. I'm flipping through. I'm like, that's okay, but no, that don't quite meet the mark. And man, they passed me all the books. None of the books met the mark.
How about that?
None of them. But here I am. I'm supposed to sign off on this because I'm now on the committee. You see? So they put me on the committee when, in fact, none of the books that they were even evaluating met the mark for what I believed our children needed. So these are just some of the challenges that we face, you know, in the public sphere. This is why we have to, the knowledge of self begins in the home.
Ooh, we're going to deal with that.
And my sons are grown now, but I would give them a daily dose every day on the way to school while they're getting dressed. And, and don't let them wake up late. If they wake up, black man, you've been asleep for 400 years. I start early in the morning with them, brother. Let's go, but we can't leave that to chance. We can't leave that to somebody else.
It falls on us, brothers and sisters. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching, go ahead and subscribe to the Rockwell Radio Show on YouTube. Tag a friend, hit that like and share button. We want everyone to know that you're in the house right now live with DJ Rockwell and our special guest, Dr. Chike Akua. We are almost against a break. And on the other side of the break, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to take and turn my mic off and surrender the microphone to you to give a special and detailed presentation about why you are who you are, and a solution-based conversation will take place from there. But before I do that, let me see if I can sneak in one or two more questions.
Sure.
Brother Doc, teachers are afraid now to teach certain subjects in school because now there's repercussions. People's jobs are on the line. What advice, Brother Chike, do you give to educators who know the truth but now feel handcuffed in the school system?
Mm-hmm. This is a time that requires tremendous moral courage, brother. Tremendous moral courage. I tell people that when I was a middle school teacher, I was in the principal's office more than some of my troubled students. And shout out to Brother Tony Muhammad, because he's right on the front lines there. I see he just said something in the chat. But yeah, I used to get called down to the principal's office all the time as a teacher.
Yes, sir.
And myself and several other brothers that I used to teach with who were doing this work, we found out that the administration was listening in on our classes.
Wow.
We were being surveilled. And the way that we knew this was the secretary in the school told us. I would go down and, back then, in order to make copies, you had to submit your copies that you wanted to use in your classroom, and the secretary would make the copies. So I went down And she would keep us abreast of things. And one day she said, they're looking at your stuff, right? It's like, oh, okay. Another time I go down there, I'm going to my mailbox. She stops me, said, they're listening in on your classroom, right? And it got to the point where you would hear this little click on the PA system and you knew that they were listening in on you. I said, man, this is really something. So I learned very early on that to be the type of teacher that I was came with consequences. Now, I say this as a former teacher of the year selected by my peers. I've been recognized in 2 different states,
yes, sir,
Virginia and Georgia, for teaching excellence, and recognized nationally and internationally for teaching excellence. But right now, in this political and cultural and economic climate that we're in, it takes tremendous moral courage, but it doesn't take any more courage than any of our elders and ancestors didn't face up to this point.
Absolutely.
Before I ever even became a teacher, if I can't go in there and teach the truth, there is no reason for me to be there. I'm not asking anybody to do anything foolish. I'm not asking anybody to be hot-headed or uncalculated in what they do. We have to be wise in dealing with these circumstances and with the people who have arrayed themselves against us. But I am saying the way that I did it was once I shut the door to my classroom,
come on
and popping. I wrote certain lesson plans, what they needed to see, and then I went and did what I needed to do to meet the needs of the students that I was teaching. Another big part of that for teachers who find themselves in that situation is cultivating relationships with like-minded teachers and administrators. While there were some who were against me, I'm very thankful that I had some wonderful educators who believed in what I was doing. They didn't know everything that I was doing, but they believed in what I was doing. They saw the results and how I was able to get results from some of the most troubled students in the school that they couldn't get. And so I had some administrators at different points in my career who said, hey, let Akua do what he does.
Right.
When he does what he does, the kids respond, right? I'm very thankful for those administrators. I always like to say administrators can give a teacher wings or they can clip them.
Wow.
And I was fortunate to be under some that helped me to fly and do what I do best. But I also had some that attempted to clip my wings. But that didn't stop what I was there to do. And so shout out to all of the hardworking teachers and principals, assistant principals, and central office personnel who are in the belly of the beast, so to speak, but who are getting it done with our children. And I know there are a lot of them around the country.
My brother Tony in Miami is one of such brothers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to ask one more question. In fact, I'm going to just present the question. Then we're going to go to break. And after the break, I want you to attack this question. Earlier, you said the words white fragility, which happens to be a title of a book I learned. White Fragility, written by Robin DiAngelo. In the book, she says these words: the key to moving forward is what we do with our discomfort. We can use it as a door out, blame the messenger and disregard the message, or we can use it as a door in by asking, why does this unsettle me? What would it mean for me if this were true? When you come back, I want you to address her thought. Although she was being introspective, I would love for you to answer that and give that some thought. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rockwell Radio Show. We are up against a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What up with it, man? You already know what time it is. It's me, Young Kind of Don. I'm up in this thing.
This is Azim Zakir Kareem, the Life Giving MC. Peace, everyone. This is Brother Anthony K. Muhammad, also known as A-Tone, the hip-hop historian.
Peace, family. What's going on? It's Brother Jabril, Brother Mustafa, Lordship Productions in the building.
I am your sister, Arian Nicole. Peace, peace, peace. It's your sister, Sue Axel. You're watching the Rockwell Radio Show.
You are now tuned in live to the Rockwell Radio Show.
Right now, you're listening to Rockwell Radio Show.
Rockwell Radio. If you ain't listening, man, you wasting time. You don't know all these other stations you need to tap in. Rockwell Radio.
You know what it is. Watch him.
And I'm here with Brother Rockwell, the Rockwell Radio Show.
You ain't in the game, you in the stand. Stop playing, man. Let's go.
When last time you bought a final call?
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, man. You see what I'm saying? We always want to start. I mean, this is what I'm not doing. Yeah, everybody go buy a final call tomorrow. Everybody who watched it. The Muslims shouldn't have no papers in their hand tomorrow. Because you know what the Muslims going to do with the money?
True.
They're going to create other Muslims.
True.
You know what the Muslims going to do? They're going to keep your neighborhood safe. They're going to show your little girl ain't nothing wrong with wearing a long dress. They're going to teach your children they're the original people on earth. So you know what that little $2 is going to do. So go and spend that little $2.
True.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your brother, Nuri Muhammad. And whenever I'm searching for a source or a platform that I can get some news that I can use, I look forward to and look at, watch and listen to the Rockwell Radio Show. And I hope you would do the same.
Coming live through your speakers.
And right about now, you're tuned into the Rockwell Radio Show.
You on the radio every day, using your fame as a DJ.
It's DJ Rockwell. You're rocking with DJ Rockwell.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is your brother DJ Rockwell, host of the Rockwell Radio Show, and my guest tonight is author, speaker, world traveler, educator, Dr. Chike Akua. And we're going to ask one last question before we convert this into a classroom, Doc. Again, let's represent what the quote is from the book White Fragility. Again, she says, and I want to use this hopefully to maybe examine what a solution could look like. This might be a good bridge. She says, the key to moving forward is what we do with our discomfort. We can use it as a door out, blame the messenger and disregard the message, or we can use it as a door in by asking, why does this unsettle me? What would it mean for me if this were true? Your thoughts?
That's a really powerful statement by Dr. Robin DiAngelo, and that's actually the path that I took as a man dealing with issues of how males treat females. I'll give you an example.
Wow.
Several years ago, I did a keynote address at a major educational conference. And there were people of all different cultures there. And one of my colleagues who I had done some work for in another district was circling up with her colleagues to talk about my message. And one of her white colleagues in that circle said that he felt uncomfortable with many of the things that I said. And so she said, well, wait a minute, let me go get Dr. Akua and he can address that. And he's like, no, I don't want to. She's like, no, he needs to hear this and you need to share what made you uncomfortable. So he talked about how things that I said made him uncomfortable as a white man. I listened very carefully. And I said, let me see if I can put it to you like this. When I was in college, I met a lot of sisters who would share from the heart about what they had witnessed their fathers do to their mothers in a negative way, like cheating on their mother or different things of that nature, being abusive towards the mother, and things that they had witnessed males do to them. Now I'm listening to this at a time when there was kind of a national dialogue saying that, black men are dogs and all these kind of negative things. And it was very upsetting to me because I didn't consider myself a dog. And they were saying, black men can't be faithful in relationships, all these different things. But I had to take a posture of listening because people make statements oftentimes out of their own experience. And so while that was not my experience, and I had no intentions of being abusive or engaging in infidelity in my relationships and things of that nature, that was their experience. So from listening to them, I had to make a decision, and I did that day, that I'm not going to be that type of brother that they described that was abusive,
right,
and that would cheat in relationships and things of that nature. So when she says, what do we do with our discomfort? Because it was very just uncomfortable for me to listen to them talk about these different things
right.
and assume that I'm like that, or assume that all Black men are like that. But I had to just listen. What I did with my discomfort was I listened, and then I made an internal affirmation that I will not be like that.
Mm.
And so unless white folks and others are willing to take that posture of listening first and address the fact that, yeah, we have some real grievances, we have some real issues. We're not waiting on y'all to change, but if y'all are interested in changing, then you need to listen to what we're saying and address it as such. So those are my thoughts on her comments about white fragility.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, our guest is Dr. Chike Akua, noted author, speaker, educator. And when I say educator, as you can see, he's not just a teacher of students, he is a teacher of the teachers. So at this point of the show is where I'm going to cut my mic off, dear brother, and I want you to talk directly to the people who ever may be listening. And on that note, for those who are listening, we now are accessible, Dr. Chike Akua, on everywhere that podcast can be heard. That's iHeart, that's Podbean, that's Apple, that's Spotify. So if you missed the live broadcast, this will be heard in all of the aforementioned locations. So, Brother Chike, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, brother, I don't want you to turn your mic off. I want us to have a conversation because I know I'm going to say some things that will prompt a response from you. But when we talked about me being on the show with you, I said, brother, I'll spend some of the time talking about the problem, but I don't believe in talking about a problem without offering a tangible solution that everybody can take part in. Okay. And so with that in mind, I want to tell you another brief little story of something that occurred when I was teaching. In addition to being a language arts teacher at the middle grades level, I was also a reading specialist. But when I applied for the reading specialist position, the principal said, if we hire you for this position, we have a problem. I said, what's that? He said, we're going to be sending you all of the students who did not pass the state test in reading. I said, that's no problem. I've been teaching language arts for 10 years. He said, no, here's the problem. We don't have a curriculum. I said,
oh, wow.
I said, sir, no problem. I'll develop the curriculum. Now, inside, I was excited when he said they didn't have a curriculum because, brother, I wasn't going to use their curriculum no way.
Anyway.
So I was like, great, so I'll develop the curriculum. So every day, I would write up a brief reading selection about a Black hero or shero, ancient or modern. And then I would write up 10 multiple choice questions. And the purpose was for it to simulate what the students would experience on the state test. The only difference was the content was knowledge of self, was about our history and culture.
Yes, sir.
Well, that went very well with the students. And after developing about 30 of these, it became clear that it needed to be a book. And so I got with a friend of mine who was also a teacher, Tavares Stevens, and we co-authored the book called Reading Revolution. And that book did very well, went across the country, and people were using it and loving it. But in 2018, we began digitizing the contents of that book so that we could make it available on an online platform that everyone could access. We had no idea that COVID was just around the corner. We just knew that we needed something to be able to reach our people at a broader level in a way that was more effective than a book.
Right.
And so that's what we did. And so what I want to do is I want to take you behind the scenes so that you can see the the Reading Revolution online platform. So give me just a second, and I'm going to share my screen because you have to see. Give me just a second.
Okay. I have one that's in the tray now.
I was wondering why I couldn't bring it up. Yes, please bring that up.
Okay.
I was wondering why I wasn't seeing it. Okay, great. So let me go there. Would you tell me if you can see it scrolling right now?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, great. So we are now behind the scenes, and I'm scrolling back to the beginning of it. And you can see we have over 100 brief reading selections about Black heroes and sheroes. Here you see we have some pre-tests for the different grade levels, right?
Yes, sir.
And each of these selections has 4 activities to go with it. So you have over 100 of these selections, each one with 4 activities. Now, take a look at how it starts off, brother. We start off with a power quote. And this power quote is an African proverb that says, "Books are worth their weight in gold." Now, I want you to answer this for me, DJ Rockwell, without even thinking about it. If books are worth their weight in gold, tell me a book that you've read that transformed your life or that you would recommend to other people.
Oh, wow. If I had to pick one, just one?
Or if you want to do more than one, that's fine. But off the top of your head.
Message to the Black Man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, published in 1965.
Yes, sir. Message to the Black Man. So I want you to remember that. And I want you and the listeners to remember this African proverb: books are worth their weight in gold. So if I was teaching class, I would ask the class, just like I asked you, to name a book that they would recommend to others at any point in their life. It could be something they read in 1st grade or 3rd grade or 5th grade or high school, middle school, whatever. Okay. But then we will go on to our baobab vocabulary. Now, the reason we call it baobab vocabulary is because in African tradition, the baobab tree was called the tree of life. And it was called the tree of life because the natural resources of the tree provided resources that were needed in the village and the community. In addition to that, the mothers of the city and the elders would meet under the shade of the baobab tree. The people would hollow out the trunk of the tree to store water and food and other important items. And so it came to be called the tree of life. So we call it baobab vocabulary because knowing these words brings life to our reading comprehension, to our vocabulary development, to our critical thinking processes, right? And we know one of the things that helped to transform Malcolm X was he studied the dictionary from beginning to end, right?
That's right.
So these are the words that the student will see and hear and experience in the reading selection. As I scroll down, we have a captioned video, which I'm going to play for you in just a moment. But here is the reading selection. It's about Ahmed Baba and the University of Sankore. You can see the baobab vocabulary words are underlined for easy identification, right? All right, so let me go back up here. And you can see that this video is just under 3 minutes, and that's very strategic. We didn't want to make it too long because we know that, unfortunately, our children's attention span is not what it should be. So over time, the video length will get a little bit longer, but we wanted to give them these small chunks of their history for them to understand and digest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this. For those that purchase this, they can play it with the captions on or off. I'm going to leave the captions off for about the first minute or so, and then I'll put them on so that you can see the difference. Now, I want you to listen very carefully and watch very carefully, brother, because we have an activity to do after this, a reading comprehension activity. Okay? All right, so here...
You at home? You playing along too now.
That's right. Here we go. Ahmed Baba and the University of Sankore. From the 1300s to the 1700s, Timbuktu was one of the greatest cities in all of Africa. Situated near the Niger River, this great center of learning was known throughout the land. It was also an important trading center for gold, salt, iron, and books. Timbuktu had quite a reputation for educational excellence and wealth, so much so that students and scholars came from all over Africa, Asia, and Europe to study at the famed University of Sankore. Being near the river gave people easy access to this thriving city of trade and education and attracted many people. Ahmed Baba was the president of the University of Sankore for 30 years. During this time, he upheld the African standard of excellence, running the university with great vision. Also during this time, he authored 42 books. This means he wrote more than one book per year, in addition to his duties as president. Additionally, Ahmed Baba had over 1,600 books that he owned in his personal library. This shows that he knew the power of books to transform the mind. To Africans who introduced the art of writing to the world, books were sacred and holy. Books were valued so much that people paid for books using only gold.
Wow.
The book a person desired to purchase would be placed on one side of the scale, and gold dust would be sprinkled on the other side of the scale until the scales were balanced. Books in Timbuktu and in the empires of Mali and Songhai were literally worth their weight in gold. Because of this, the book industry was just as lucrative as the gold, salt, and iron industries. People who studied at Timbuktu learned law, medicine, and healing, writing and literature, astronomy, the study of the stars, and agriculture, the study of farming, and much more. They took their knowledge and understanding of what they learned back to other parts of Africa, Asia, and Europe. Some even came to America. History also shows us that virtually every home in Timbuktu had an extensive library of books and manuscripts. All right, brother. So that is the caption video. Now, before I go any further, can you just tell me what that made you think of or how that made you feel? Did you learn something new from what you heard?
I did.
Can you share something that stood out to you?
That we severely, in today's time, severely undervalue books, reading, and learning and knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. So now as I scroll down here, past the reading selection, we have our Baobab vocabulary activity. You see the word is on the left-hand side. You see the definition is on the right-hand side. So our task, this is a click and drag activity. So for example, we know that astronomy is the study of the stars. So we're going to click and drag that down here, right? We know that agriculture is the study of farming, right? We know that the word lucrative means profitable. We know sacred means holy and so forth. When the student is finished with this activity, they will click at the bottom and our program would then score it for them and allow them to go on to the next activity. Okay. And so this is the first of the 4 activities. Remember, there are over 100 of these reading selections and 4 activities for each one. So the vocabulary activity is the first activity. The second activity is our reading comprehension. And I'm going to start that over real quick, reset the test so that you can see. And you'll see some of the vocabulary words in this section too. So number 1 says the word situated means A, educated, B, dictated, C, located, or D, truncated.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the answer is located in this selection, but I'm going to put the wrong answer on purpose just so that you can see how our system scores it. Now, I'd also like for you to notice that for every question, the student can always refer back to the reading selection. And that's very strategic because we want them to refer back to the reading selection. We want you to be able to justify your answer with the text. It's like in math class, it's not enough to have the right answer. You have to know why the answer is what it is. You have to be able to show your work. So when a student tells me their answer, they have to be able to show me in the paragraph where they got that answer.
Right.
Okay? So number 2 says people came from blank to attend the University of Sankore. A, all over Africa. B, Europe. C, Asia. D, all of these, right? So for the sake of time, I'm going to run through these kind of quick so you can see what attracted people to Timbuktu. University of Sankore, the trade industry, the fact that it was near a river, all of these. Okay, so I'm just going to run through these. Let's see, and then I'm going to click to score it. Okay. Here we have another one of the vocabulary words stuck in there because we definitely always want to reinforce vocabulary development.
Yes.
It means holy. What evidence shows the value of books? Okay. All of these. We'll just do none of these and all of these. All right. So now I'm going to submit my test. And you can see I got an 80%. So it scores this reading comprehension assessment on the spot. Tells you the date and the time.
Nice.
And then for the parent going over this with their child, they can see what questions they got wrong and which ones they got right. And the reason it's time stamped is so that if your child didn't make the score that you want them to, and we want them to make 100, at least a 90, then they can retake it. The system will rescore it and retime stamp it. Okay. So this is the second of the activities. Remember, we had the vocabulary activity.
Yes, sir.
Then we had the reading comprehension activity. The third activity is called the grammar review. Okay. So let me reset that. Here, what you see is there are 5 sentences that have content from the reading selection. But the student has to retype each sentence, adding capitalization, punctuation, and changing verb tense where necessary. Now, we don't have time to retype all that stuff right now, but this is what you would do with your child. So I'm going to click here and you'll see that I'm going to get a 0 on that because I didn't do it right. Okay. We know that this will improve our children's grammar skills, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then the fourth activity, remember, there are over 100 selections. Each one has 4 activities. So we had the vocabulary, we had the reading comprehension, we just did the grammar, and lastly, if we're going to have a reading revolution, then we also have to have a writing revolution.
Hello.
So the writing prompt says Ahmed Baba wrote 42 books. If you were going to write a book, what would it be about? Would it be fiction or nonfiction? Who would the book be for? What age range or audience? Describe and explain. Now, this is the only one of the activities that our system doesn't score. The parent or the teacher would score it based on their purposes. They could tell the child to write a paragraph. They could tell them to write 3 paragraphs. It's up to them. But our system does archive it so that you can always go back and evaluate the writing and see how a child's writing progresses and improves over time. All right.
Genius. Love that.
Yes, sir. So what I want you to know is that we developed this platform from scratch. This is Black made from top to bottom, side to side. Okay. But before I get into the team that developed this, I want to go back to the reading selection for just a moment because it talked about Ahmed Baba and the University of Sankore. And would you happen to remember, DJ Rockwell, the city that the reading selection focused on? Do you remember? It starts with a T.
Is it that one right there? I see Timbuktu.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, brother, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up with no knowledge of self and being miseducated in these schools, man, we had a saying, man, I'll knock you all the way to Timbuktu.
Timbuktu.
I didn't know that was a real place. I didn't know that that was one of the great learning centers where people came from all over Africa, Asia, and Europe to study from our ancestors. I didn't know that that was a place where books were literally worth their weight in gold.
Gold.
That's just one historical point. Can you imagine what else we don't know?
Hello.
And can you see why some people would be afraid? Because we've been made to believe that we didn't know how to read, that we didn't read or write. We were made to believe that we didn't learn these things until we were enslaved, and we should be grateful that we were brought to America and taught how to read and write and all of these sorts of things. You see, but when you start learning knowledge of self, you learn that we've been lied to. Yes. And this is part of the discomfort and the fragility behind why some people don't want this knowledge to be known.
Listen.
So I'm going to stop sharing right there for just a moment. But tell me what you think about what you saw so far, brother.
I think, first of all, let me give that a big round of applause. What I just saw is a way out. What I just saw is a tool that is a workaround for us having to even have the conversation of being concerned about quote unquote white comfort.
Right.
That is a tool. What I just saw is a tool that can be administered right in the comfort of your own home.
Brother, let me tell you, it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. Now, you have to tell me how we are on time, because I have another brief piece to share with you, a couple of brief things to share if there's time.
Brother, my time is your time. Please continue.
Okay. There is another piece that I want to share, but it was not in the original thing that we had in queue when we started. So I need to share my screen here.
Okay.
So bear with me for just a moment.
Sure.
All right. So you see the big thing that says Reading Revolution on your screen now?
I do.
I want to show you who developed this platform. And it was the members of my family. Okay. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see the picture of my wife. We've been together for 31 years now. She is a master teacher in her own right. A lot of people know the work that I do nationally and internationally, but more people need to know that my wife is a master teacher and amazing at what she does. And so she was responsible for some of the editing and some of the voiceovers. Okay. Just above her to the right is my older son, Jabari. He did the audio engineering for all of the video clips that you saw. He did all of the audio engineering. He's now an aerospace engineer, but at the time, he was in college at the time that we were working on this. Okay. Next to him, you see his younger brother, Amari, who is our videographer and filmmaker. So all the videos in Reading Revolution were produced or overseen by Amari. But when he saw the scope and the scale of the project, he called upon his girlfriend in the bottom right-hand corner, Ayana, and she's a graduate of University of West Georgia's school where she studied media and film. And Amari is finishing up his degree in film and media as well. Okay. In the middle is my niece, Kaylee, and she did some of the editing and voiceovers as well. So this is a family affair from top to bottom, side to side. Okay. In addition to that, we have my co-author, Tavares Stevens. And we also had, once we had all these video clips, all of the activities, we needed somebody who could put this in an online platform that functioned. And I didn't know how to do that. We found an amazing sister, a computer scientist, a graduate of an HBCU, my HBCU, Hampton University, where I earned my bachelor's degree. And her name is Jennifer Allen. And she is the one who put the platform together for us and manages the platform once we provided her with all of the information. So that's why I say, brother, this is a family affair from top to bottom. And I want people not just to hear what I'm saying, but to feel what I'm saying, that we can do for self, and we are doing for self. We're not asking for anyone's permission. We're not asking for anyone's acceptance. We're doing this, and because this is what our people need, right?
Come on now.
Now, let me ask you a question, brother. Would it be worth $1 a day to provide access to a platform like this? Would that be worth $1 a day for our children's minds? Yes or
10
no?
times over. 10 times over.
Yeah. So when we first priced this, we made it a little bit more than $1 a day. We made it $397. Okay. But right now, for your listeners, brother, we have a special, and I'm putting it in the chat box right now. It's the Reading Revolution Online special, and it's only $97. For those of your listeners who want to have access to this online platform, to be able to work with their children on a daily basis, to instill in them knowledge of self, to help them before they go and prepare them to go and get a college degree, to go back, as my good friend Reginald Muhammad says, to get their first degree, which is knowledge of self.
Come on.
Then this is a resource that we need. I intentionally, as you remember, I said, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about the problem, because we could have paralysis of analysis all night.
All night.
It ain't gonna do nothing. But what I would like to do is share with you one more example, because that one was for the upper grades. If I can share my screen again, I would like to go and share with you one from the lower grades. And this one, you'll see a distinct difference, okay, in how it flows. For this one, we actually have something that reads the vocabulary words to the students, right?
Let's go over the Baobab vocabulary words. Curious, eager to learn. Scientist, a person who studies the natural world to understand how it works.
Okay, so you can see how it goes through that. We've got our vocabulary activity here as well.
Sure.
But let me go back. I want to play this brief video clip for you so that you can see what it's like for the primary grades. The primary grades are grades 1, 2, and 3. This is a quote from Ronald McNair. He says, "Before you can make a dream come true, you must first have one." So if I'm teaching little boys and girls and in the primary grades, I would ask them, "What's your dream? What's a dream that you would like to have come true?" And we'd have a conversation about that. And then we would learn about Ronald McNair. So let's check it out. This one is only 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Sure.
Ronald McNair, an African-American space hero. Ronald McNair was a smart and very brave astronaut who loved the stars and space. He was born in Lake City, South Carolina. Ronald was a great student. He also loved sports and playing his saxophone. He played football and was very good at karate. He loved to read books. He really liked books about space. He was so curious about space, he went on to become a scientist and then an astronaut. Ronald McNair flew in a special spaceship called the Challenger Space Shuttle. He went up into the sky and into space to learn more about our galaxy and teach the world new things. His job was to operate the shuttle's robotic arm. He even played music with his saxophone in space. Ronald McNair was a hero and a role model because he showed us that we can reach for the stars and make our dreams come true.
All right, brother. What did you think about that?
Ronald McNair was a soul brother. I saw the afro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, brother, we're so excited about this. Right now, we have thousands of users around the country and internationally that are using Reading Revolution Online. But you know what, brother? The vision that the Most High gave me is that we want to reach 1 million Black children with Reading Revolution Online. And your listeners can help us do that. Like I said, you can go on to our website at readingrevolution.org. But if you want the special that we made available for your listeners, I'm going to put it in the chat box again. And that is the special for only $97. That's a $200 savings.
Got it.
$300 savings, actually. Then you definitely want to take advantage of that.
These out there. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, we're going to put those right where the people can see them as well. And let me share with you some of the responses that you're getting here. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me show you some of the responses that we're seeing here. Absolutely great.
So you know what, brother? When we do for self, we don't have to worry about whether people consider us a threat or not. We do what we know is in the best interest of our people and let the chips fall where they may.
Where they may.
So we don't have to convince other people and help them to feel comfortable around us or anything. We do what is necessary for our people and let that be enough in and of itself.
Dear brother, I'm blown away. The links that brother just mentioned will be available in the chat where all who see this in the future can see it. Dear brother, I am humbled and grateful for your presence tonight. I want to give you the final closing word about all that we have discussed. And I know you just gave us a brief summary. Let's go deeper. I want you to speak to people who know this information, that want to teach this information, the people who need this information. What do you say to your people about what's possible when it comes to Black history?
Man, using this kind of information, I've literally seen students go from F's to A's. When we center our students in the best of their history and culture and help them to understand who they are and where they come from, it helps them to understand where they must go. I've seen this kind of information transform the lives of children who struggle in school, and actually it transformed my life. I didn't learn this stuff growing up. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it to this day. But you know, there's some of our people who say, well, you know, all that sounds good, Dr. Akua, but how is that going to help us to pay the bills? How is it going to help me to pay the rent, pay the car note, pay the mortgage, and put food on the table? And brother, I can't answer that question any better than Dr. Amos Wilson did. He said, if there were not a direct relationship between history and money, history and power, history and rulership, history and domination, then why is it that the European rewrote history?
Wow.
I'm going to say that again because I need y'all to not just hear me, but feel me on this.
Come on.
Wilson said, if there were not a direct relationship between history and money, history and power, history and rulership, history and domination, then why is it that the European rewrote history? And I would add to that, and rewriting us out of history, attempting to erase our history and sanitize our history. Brothers and sisters, we better get a clue real quick. Because if we don't, we have no one to blame but ourselves when we see our children being anything other than excellent. When we see them acting out the negative images of pimps and players and criminals and thugs and N-words and B-words, we have to give them the righteous alternative. Because if we don't, well, we're seeing what will happen. And so those are the final words that I would give, brother. And I want to thank you so much for blessing me and allowing me to be on your show. This is long overdue. We've been meaning to catch up with each other, but we're both, very busy doing what we do. But I feel like this is a divinely ordained moment.
Come on. Brother, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my brother, our brother, Dr. Chike Akua. Can we please do a part 2 in the near future, dear brother?
Absolutely. I would love to.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. That's the time. Thank you all for watching. Share this, because what the Rockwell Radio Show is all about is sharing great information like what you heard tonight. Thank y'all. We will see y'all right here next week on the Rockwell Radio Show. We are out of here.
Now, if you got past all of that, you might as well keep on rocking with us. So come on, everybody, let's go. Radio show, y'all. The Rockwell Radio Show. The Rockwell Radio Show, y'all. The Rockwell Radio Show. The Rockwell Radio Show, y'all. The Rockwell Radio Show. The Rockwell Radio Show, y'all. The Rockwell Radio Show. The Rockwell Radio Show. That means you do Rockwell Radio Show. episode, man. Come on, man. Stop tripping.